Hello, I'm Lindsay Torbett. I'm the author of Five Steps to Financial Freedom, a guide to living a financially fulfilled life. In that book, there's several points that I want to make that you can use at whatever level you are to begin to build that process. So if you're just starting out or having some financial difficulties, the first thing I'd say you need to do is take a good hard look at your credit cards and try to work to pay off any of that credit card debt. You know that rates of interest on credit cards might be well in excess of 20%. I don't know of any investment that it's anywhere close to that. So that's the sort of thing I'd do first. The second thing I'd do is make sure that you're maximizing any 401k match that you've got. That's an opportunity to get some free money from your employer, and you need to benefit from that. Once you get to the match, maximize that, then I think you need to look at other things, but I'd at least do that. The third thing is to know where you are financially. Lay out what are your assets, what do you have, what do you have in the bank, any investments you've got, what's your house worth, vehicles, whatever. And then lay out what your liabilities are. What do you owe on credit cards? What do you owe for your house? What do you owe? The fourth thing I'd do just starting out or for any level you are is make sure that you've got an emergency fund. You've got a savings account that could cover you. You know, if the tire blows out on the car, the refrigerator breaks, some health issue that comes up quickly, where you've got at least a couple of months worth of whatever your kind of normal expenses are in an account, so you're okay for that contingency. So the next level, if you maybe you're just kind of mid-America, you're not drowning in credit card debt, but you're really not financially secure yet. My challenge to you is to take that step that you made before, where you know where you are, and then do some planning. Say, where would you like to be? What do you need? So you want to retire with a certain amount of income. You want to have a certain net worth now, whatever that is. So you know where you are, and that's where you want to go. And then you need the difference is your gap. You need to define that gap, because as a coach, that's what I do for clients in my high-powered executive and professional and CEO coaching. Lay that gap out, because with that, now we've got what the information to work with. What are the steps you need to take to improve that? The next thing you need to do is review what risk do you have, and what are you doing to minimize those risks? Have you taken a hard look at what kind of insurance coverage you've got, and does it really fit for you? My premise for most people is it really fit well for that person that sold you the insurance. It got them a nice commission, but it may or may not be what's best for you. So review that. The next level, if you're actually building, you've got some assets, you've got some investments, that's great. My challenge to you is to analyze your investment cost. Are you getting what you're paying for? Are you getting value there? Have you looked to see if you can minimize your cost? You know, there are a lot of costs. There are a lot of people on Wall Street that are really doing well, and I think they're doing well because they're taking advantage of their customers. Make sure you're not one of those people. The second thing is that's when it's important for you to diversify. Are your assets diversified? If you don't have many assets, if you don't have many investments, it doesn't really matter. Just go make some good investments. Find a good company that you'd like to own stock and buy a few shares in. That's what I do. At the beginning, I've actually got a stock a year plan where if somebody just took a few dollars, as little as hundreds of dollars, you could buy ever how many shares of a really good company. Make sure it's fairly priced. Buy those shares. It might cost you $10 to do that. Buy a good company. Next year, buy another good company. Don't pay attention to what the stock market's doing. Just get you some good companies. But once you start acquiring those, now you need to diversify. Don't get a bunch of companies in the same industry. Don't get a bunch of the same kinds of investments if you've got investments. So it's actually harder once you start getting more investments. That's why you need to consider your diversification. And then at the highest level, which I'd call the legacy level, you really need to look at, that's the point. You're financially secure, but what about the family? And first thing, if you've still got young children, what are you teaching them about money? Because they need to learn some of this on their own. They don't need to be given everything. I've seen some really sad stories over the years in advising clients where their children had no concept of money, and unless you got really lots of money, so much that that child can't ever screw up badly enough to spend all that they'll get, they need some financial skills on their own. They need to see what they can do. I love the Warren Buffett point that he wanted to leave his children enough so that they could do anything they wanted to, but not enough that they could do nothing. I think that's a great philosophy. That's certainly the philosophy that I plan on with my children. And the other thing is, what about your estate planning? Have you laid out what's going to happen? What's going to happen to perhaps your business, your financial affairs, you know? And you need to have that discussion not only with your spouse, but also other family members to lay out what you want and how you want to be treated. And then what documents do you have? Do you have proper wills, trust if you really need it, or your life insurance and any other IRAs or things? Are the beneficiaries right? Particularly if you've had some change in life, you know, if you've had a divorce or something like that, you've had some subsequent children born, make sure that those beneficiaries, because those assets that have a beneficiary, that's where those assets are going to go. Doesn't matter what your will says. Doesn't matter what somebody thought you meant or what you told them you wanted to happen. What that beneficiary designation is, that's where those assets are going. So make sure they're right. It's easy to change if you need to. But what about other documentation? You know, who's got the password and the information on the various accounts that you might have? Not just financial things, but what about your iTunes account, your Facebook account, some of that? We need to document that. You know, that's a new area, and certainly I'm not an expert in all things digital and social media. In fact, I'm a neophyte in that and don't handle it all very well, but we also need to document that and lay that out. And the last thing there that I think applies to any of us at whatever level is, what about leaving something in terms of your ideals and what's important to you, to your family? I call that the final gift, where you'd kind of lay out what's important and what things you'd like to see. Maybe they'll never see it, and that's great because you'll live a lot of years, but you ought to have at least somewhere an envelope that says, you know, what happens if something happens to me? Lay out your ideas. You know, you've got a business. Who do you think could best run it? What do you think? Who should it be sold to if something happens? If that doesn't come into place, great. But if something were to happen to you, it'd mean a lot to your family and a lot to your advisors. Lay out who are your advisors and who do you want to deal with, who do you not want to deal with. All that needs to be laid out beforehand. If you can do that, that's going a long way to putting the 5 steps to financial freedom in place. Those steps are, number 1, control your emotions. And a very important part of that is to take charge of your affairs. The second step is to lay out a plan. And to do that, you need to know where you are and where you're going. The difference is the gap. Start filling it in. The third step is to acquire assets. That's the building blocks of wealth. And those assets need to be things that are going to make you money, either grow in value or make you money. I'm not talking about your house. I'm not talking about your collectibles, the art on your wall, the vehicles you drive, the fishing boat, any of those kind of things. I'm talking about things that are investments that'll make you money. The fourth thing is to live a financially efficient life. Watch what you spend. Actually, spending is a lot more important than income in terms of determining whether or not you're financially free. And the fifth area is to minimize risk. And I think you'll see, as I laid out, at whatever level you are, you can work on these steps and go a long way toward building your financial freedom. It's something you can do, something you make some baby steps. What are you going to do next week, this month, this season, and this year? Lay out some specific things and begin to attack it one step at a time. Good luck as you work to build that. The book 5 Steps to Financial Freedom is available at 5stepstofinancialfreedom.com or on Amazon. However you might get it, you can get it as cheaply as 99 cents on Kindle. I suggest that you opt in and get the video and the workbook where I actually take you step by step how to implement these things and help you build your financial future. Good luck. I'm Lindsay Torbett.